Microphone on. Sleepy Reader here. I'm coming back for more reviews of comic books from this week, or thoughts about comic books from this week. I previously did a video covering all the 0 issues I got from DC, but I got some other stuff. I got Guarding the Globe #1 from Image, and The Punisher #15. The Return of Mark Cicchetto, for those people who are big fans of his. I've got the Mighty Thor #19, which is part 2 of Everything Burns, which I think is going to be 6 issues, going back and forth between Thor and Journey into Mystery, which is a comic that's been focused on Loki, I believe, in the past. And Epic Kill #5. Beautiful cover. I had said I was gonna drop Epic Kill with #5, and I'm still planning to drop Epic Kill with #5. This issue was, like the others, was fun enough to read, and there was some new twists, so I'm a little curious what's gonna happen next, but probably not curious enough. There's also just so much silly stuff that pushes my credulity. There's still plenty of the incredible beyond belief kung fu powers that she has, which I think she got for training 5 years, all because she wanted to get revenge on someone who semi-directly caused. She goes the electric chair willingly, even though she could break out of the prison and kill everyone. But that's just the beginning of this issue. So it's fun enough. If under different circumstances, I might keep getting it. One thing, though, is during the course of these 5 issues, we've learned that her target is this person who didn't quite win the American presidential race because of possible fraud in counting the votes, and he's still working on getting a recount. But for some reason in the early issues, the President of the United States wants to kill her. He's a black President of the United States. He even joins the army. He's not really Obama, but some kind of more, maybe even right-wing version of Obama. Very macho, anyway. He goes out with the elite Army Corps and or troops of some kind to help hunt her down. And he seems to know who she is, and he's very eager to kill her. But later we learn she's out to kill his political opponent, and in these 5 issues it doesn't even make sense. So maybe there'll be further explanations of that. But there was too much stuff that was a little silly or didn't make sense as things developed. Her whole motivation for revenge seems... Her actions seem out of balance with her motivation for revenge. It kind of boils down to being like getting revenge on a drunk driver. And to do that, she trains and becomes a super assassin and kills hundreds of police officers and army people to try and get at her target. The other thing that is intriguing about it is she has these fantasies about what she's going to do, and then it turns out she doesn't do it, like in terms of fight scenes in here. And it does take me back to the fact that in the very first issue, with that embarrassing second printing cover, she starts out in a mental hospital and then breaks out. And how did she get in the mental hospital, and what does that all connect with all of this? So I might be curious someday to just know the answers to those questions, but I don't have the energy to, and I have so many other comics I want to read. I can almost imagine, if there's further volumes, getting those trades out of the library and just skimming them to find out what was really going on here. It might just, though, all be silly gobbledygook by the end. Who knows? So, a fun book. As I talk about it, I feel a little sad that I won't be reading it, but just too much other stuff to read. So I put the whole stack of them away on the floor, and I'm going to go bury it somewhere in my collection. These four are in order of what I like the best. So the Mighty Thor, I've kind of jumped on this with the last issue of Mighty Thor, which was the prelude to Everything Burns. This is part 2 of Everything Burns. Part 1, chapter 1, was in last week's issue of Journey into Mystery. I think these are coming out 1 a week, so we'll very quickly get the 6 issues that make up this Everything Burns. There's one of Thor's villains, Sutor, who's kind of a fire devil, is making his big play, and Thor and Loki and all the Asgardians and others have to fight against them. So chapter 1 in Journey into the Mystery was very good. It had great art. This has great art too, in a completely different style, a more slick Neil Adams kind of style. The other book had a rougher, scratchier kind of style that I liked a lot. And the first sort of third of the book is all kind of your typical thing where everyone's turned against Thor and he has to win them back. I feel like I've seen that a million times. And it's kind of cheesy, and, you know, so I could have taken it or leave it, other than the nice artwork. When they do all get together and go to war across the kind of 9 realms of Norse mythology, there's some really cool art stretching kind of interconnected panels that stretch. Each panel is in a different realm. So that's quite cool. And so I found this issue just to be kind of so-so, though. The battle scenes weren't emotionally involving. There was that whole, as I said, kind of cliched thing of Thor rallying the forces when they at first are all against him. Then there's some slightly more interesting stuff with Loki, and a little bit more of our flashback to the early days of Odin and this pact that he made with the Vanir. Not sure if it's telling us a whole lot of new information, but yeah, I think I like it's partially in comparison to the other issue was so good. And then at the very end, I won't show the page, where there's a big reveal of someone's face who must be someone coming back from the past of Thor. And it makes me realize I really haven't read a whole lot of Thor in a really long time. I've read a few fraction issues here and there during his run. And I've read a few of the Michael J. Straczynski kind of period of Thor, but apparently not enough. I just don't know all the characters and twists and turns that have happened. Maybe I know the character who's revealed on the last page, or will know when they name that person. But at the moment I can't figure out who it is, and I'm not blown away by this revelation. And I think the whole issue was building up to that revelation. So maybe, you know, my knowledge of Thor, I think of myself as a longtime Thor reader, and I've read all the Jack Kirby issues. I read lots of the stuff that came after, and I've read the Walt Simonson issues and some of the stuff that came after that, but I guess just not enough. I have to say, I really like the way they do Thor's outfit now. It almost looks believable, as maybe not as a Viking, but as some kind of medieval warrior, and yet still harkens back to his kind of silly old costume when he was, you know, the original costume. Like there, you know, the boots kind of harken back to those old silly boots, but they've taken out most of the bad design. I'd say the Thor costume is one of Jack Kirby's worst designs, if he's the one who did that design. So yeah, hopefully the rest of Everything Burns will be better than this issue. And then The Punisher, which I've sadly got creased in the front seat of my car because I was reading some comics on my lunch break. This issue of The Punisher is very good. People who've been following it are very excited at the return of artist Marco Cicchetto. I like his art fine, but I actually liked the last artist pretty good too. I think in the 5 issues I've read, it's been mostly filler artists, and most of them have been very good. And so I have no complaints about the art. This is done in a very, and I find this issue more, I thought the last issue was kind of the climax of the storyline, but I found this issue more exciting. They've wreaked their revenge. The woman that the Punisher's working with and the Punisher have wreaked their revenge on these villainous henchmen turned corporate pirates kind of thing. They've wreaked their revenge on them, and now they have to get out of the building. And the getting out of the building turns really intense and really cool. But you know, as I counted, I think it took me 3 minutes to read the whole issue, and then I went back and kind of looked at some of the panels where I was a little confused. And then I just kind of I get a little pissed by this, you know, style of no dialogue and everything. And I counted, I think there were 8 pages where there was almost no dialogue on the page, like a word or two on the entire page. And then there were 2 or 3 wordless pages. So here's a page that counts as a page with words on it. It's got 2 words on it. Oh, pointing 2 words, and that's it. So it's like watching a movie in a way, and it's done very well. But I'll keep following Punisher for now. But I do sort of think about, you know, these issues that take almost no time to read. And maybe all of it would make more sense in a trade, although I don't think I would enjoy the art quite as much in a trade. So, yeah, there was stuff at the end where I wasn't quite sure what they'd done. I think at the very end they've disguised themselves as police officers. I did figure out who was killed, but there was a split second where, because you know in comic books sometimes different people look alike, and I thought, that is the character I think it is, right? And it was, I'm pretty sure. But, so we'll see, does next issue start with them still trying to escape this building, or maybe they have now successfully escaped the building? It is interesting because it's so intense and it's so concentrated. It is different from most other comic books. It feels fairly unique. I haven't read a lot of Greg Rucka comics, so maybe he does things that way a lot. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's just on Punisher. Here's my favorite comic book of the week. Granted, it was a rather weak week, but love that this has a wraparound cover. This is Guarding the Globe, which is about I believe they're called the Guardians of the Globe. And they come out of the pages of Invincible. I think they appear a lot in Invincible. I think I read maybe the first 30 or 40 issues of Invincible in trades, but it was quite a while ago now, and I don't remember all these characters. But this was a great superhero group comic. It was really well written. The art was quite good, although sometimes the coloring maybe made it hard to pick out what you were supposed to look at first on the page or in a panel. But for the most part, it was really nice art. A little unusual, you know, everybody's face is very different from everyone else's and that kind of thing, and that made it nice. So the whole feeling was of a little more realistic kind of version of the Avengers, if you will, or version of the Justice League, although I think of them more as being like the Avengers. And enough of it is familiar to me that I can grab onto enough to figure out, like this guy here in the suit. I remember him quite well from Invincible. He's kind of like the runner, the guy who runs the superheroes in America, or perhaps globally now. So, and lots of cool superheroes. I don't remember this, what do they call her now? Japanoid? Kid Japanoid? I don't know if she's a little bit of a robot. Anyway, and you know, Brit, this middle-aged superhero, is done quite well. Everything's written really well. It's paced really well. We just move through the move from one character to another, and we get quite a lot of good beats for each character. And these are all, you know, ongoing characters. If you've read everything that Robert Kirkman writes, then you know these characters well already. But I don't know them all well, and some I do know I couldn't remember anymore. I don't think I'd ever seen this little bulldog pug or whatever he is here, but seems like he's going to be a great character. He smokes cigarettes and drinks beer, and I love the way he looks. So I'm looking forward to more. I'm definitely going to buy more issues. But I wish, given that it was a first issue, they'd done a little more to properly introduce you to the characters. Make sure you know all their names, for starters. Maybe give you just a little bit of a sense of each character's powers or disposition. So yeah, this is it's just very good writing. It's superheroes just done in a slightly different way than you see at Marvel or DC, and done very well. So I'm really glad I picked this up. It's not written by Robert Kirkman. It's written by Phil Hester, and his writing is different from Kirkman's, but it's definitely very good. In fact, I think I always meant to get back to Invincible, but I got a little bored with him. I would get interested in it, then I would get a little bored of it. The pacing of it is a certain sort of Robert Kirkman way of doing superheroes that doesn't always work for me, and I liked the pacing in here better. So I think I'll be doing some trade videos, some videos about about trades. I'm working my way through Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. I've finished the Prophet trade. Haven't decided what I think about that yet. And I've got a bunch of other trades lined up. I'll probably be reading the Swamp Thing trade next. So you'll be seeing more of me. I hope to be seeing more of you. Oh, there's another brand new person, at least new to doing comic book videos, who I recommend. DavidusRaccoonus is the name of his channel, and his first comic book video was all about his response to the New 52, which was his first reading comics experience. So I thought that made it really interesting. So I guess he's been reading comics for about a year or a little bit less since the New 52 started, and he seems like he's become a big comic book reader then. So I look forward to more reviews by him, and I will put a link to his channel down below. Talk to you all later.